So talk to me about LinkedIn. When you started Founder and Lightning, were there people sharing their business journey and building in public on LinkedIn?
Yeah, there were. And I've always been a bit skeptical about social media. I don't know, just think there's some bad stuff about social media, obviously, of the trolling and all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of like fakeness on there and stuff.
Yeah.
And also I never really felt like I'd achieved anything to justify talking about stuff. But obviously in the last few years, felt like that's changed a little bit. Got a little bit of experience that I can share. So yeah, people were always learning stuff, but I've just seen it go massive in the last sort of year or two.
Yeah. What are some of the things you like about that and dislike about that?
So I love the fact on LinkedIn, I've met some, like since I've been maybe doing a bit more content over the last 6 months, I've met some really amazing people that it's much more like curated on LinkedIn. It's not like you go to a networking, I hate networking events. I was always rubbish at them. It's like my worst nightmare going in and, you know, you have to like randomly talk to people and you know within 5 minutes whether it's just a waste of time.
And it's so forced.
And then how do you do the sort of, you know, the awkward walk away?
Yeah. Some people are so good at that.
I know,
some people are so good. I've been at, you know, in circles at networking events and someone was like, okay, well, great to meet you. I'm going to mingle. It's like, we were mingling.
You don't like me.
Yeah. But I think it's class when people do that. It's like, yeah, they know who they want to speak to.
I think I'm too polite to do that.
Oh, so you just end up in like an hour-long conversation?
Yeah.
That's the worst.
Yeah, and then I've missed all the people that I should be talking to.
Yeah.
So I really didn't like and don't like networking events. So for me, LinkedIn is this amazing like curation matching tool where you're talking about, you know, what you think is important to you, and then other people are doing the same. And when you meet someone, it's almost like you know each other. So if used properly, I think it's an amazing tool.
Yeah. I actually just bumped into James Routledge. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's his last name. Founder of Sanctus. Literally as I was in a co-working space. I've never met him before. We've spoken briefly on LinkedIn. I pointed to him. I was like, are you James by any chance? He's like, Joe Binder. I was like, hi, how you doing? It was really nice. It's like, yeah, I definitely feel that. It's like we already know each other. I've read so much
do you know what I mean,
content.
Though?
Yeah.
But how amazing is that?
It's pretty cool.
And then you kind of, you know, it like fast forwards the first like two meetings because you're just talking like you're already, you know, a network.
Yeah. There is a lot of crap on there recently that I've seen. Yeah. You know, stories of being late for the interview and then the interview is a dog. Have you seen that one?
No.
Yeah, some weird shit.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, you walk past a homeless person in the street and they ask you for something and you don't say yes. And then you get to your interview on time and then, oh my God, it's the homeless person. They're the interviewer. It's like loads of like crap like that.
Yeah.
But also, you know, I've spoken to you before and I think one of the things you said was, you know, half of, you know, 50% of all advice is just bad advice.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of advice on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Yeah. People, like, that's why when I talk, I always try to say like in my experience or I've found, it doesn't mean that I'm right. I'm probably wrong loads of time. It's just what's worked for me. Just because that's worked for me or hasn't worked for me doesn't mean that somebody else couldn't execute it or do it in a different way.
Yeah.
And as I say, like I'm still on my sort of journey and I'm far from an expert in many things. So it's just about being candid, is that right? Candid. Yeah. With what you know and not, and I just think some people on there are just like, I think really super successful people who are like in their 50s or whatever, they forget also how hard it was for them when they were building it in their 30s. Yeah. And they sort of gloss over all of that quite a bit. Yeah. There's not enough people on LinkedIn saying, I did this, it was really hard, this is what you should look out for. There's a lot of people going, this is all you've got to do. You've got to like just write 1,000 words a day and pick a niche and like, you know, like it's easy. It's not. And I think we should almost, you know, it's really important the more people become founders and we start more companies as a country to get out of, you know, the sort of post-COVID and stuff like that. But also we need to be like realistic with people and make sure people understand that it's really hard. And it's going to be super stressful and not everybody should do it. Yeah, it's interesting about the older generation of entrepreneurs who have made it to a degree. I see this with some of our clients and then also with people on LinkedIn sharing their journey. Yeah. Almost feels like people who have made it have gone through the, you know, in the trenches, like giving it their absolute all, sacrificing so much, and then have made it through that, but then have realized actually, you know, it's
different now, and I think well-being is more important, and taking time out and work-life balance. But it's interesting that is always so prominent with that generation of people who've done it already, versus, as you say, the people who are doing it right now. They're very much in the midst of it, and they're sharing as they go. Yeah,
and I prefer to listen to the people that are doing it now. You know, the challenges we've got now, I think if anything, actually, in COVID was easier than now. Post-COVID now, with like cost of living, inflation, like the Great Resignation, all this kind of stuff. Like, I actually think this is as hard a time to be running a business as I ever remember. And then I got into the first business sort of post that financial crash in 2010 or 9, whenever it was. But it feels hard. As a business owner right now, it feels hard. There's loads of opportunity, like loads really positive and optimistic, but definitely feels difficult. So it's just nice to be hearing from people who are going through those and what they're doing about it and how they're going to mitigate it, rather than just people that are going, everything's amazing. You know, I just think that toxic positivity is not great.
Where do you draw the line between toxic positivity and just genuine positivity and trying to kind of make the best out of a worse situation?
It's a really hard balance because, you know, as a founder, if you get knocked over, you just got to get back up again. Yeah. But I guess the difference is you've got to acknowledge that things are hard and do something about it, rather than just going, it will be fine, it will be fine, it will be fine. You've got to go, okay, why is this going wrong? What do we need to do about it? But I'm positive that I'm going to be able to sort it out. You know, that's the positivity. I can sort this out. I know I can, but I'm also acknowledging that I need to do something about it, rather than just stick my head in the sand.